on this Krisha-thon. So yeah, we have 10 days, everybody. After that, we have no idea what is going to happen. So we're going to do the show every night until the wheels are roll off. Pray like the Dickens that wherever we land, wherever we go, that we can make it there. So y'all, y'all make sure y'all get over there. The app is in the chat room. It is pinned down. Make sure we're going to be starting to have the posters and the flyers out tomorrow about the Krisha-thon. And I am not scared and now no longer proud to ask for help that we need. So everybody, Stan gonna cut that off right there before he do this. Everybody, our next guest, he's been here before. He was supposed to come up here for the rally, but he had very important stuff to do. And like I said, I just appreciate Keith being one of the people around the United States that step out in faith, step out because he see a problem, and he does what is necessary. And Dave, bring Keith back on. Hey Keith, how you
Hello.
doing?
I'm doing great, Lucretia. How are you?
As best as we can be compared to how you're doing down there in Florida.
Well, that's kind of how I roll. I kind of stay as busy as I do. If it isn't work or other community activities that I'm definitely very passionate and involved in, it's mostly that. But it's a
Has it
labor of
gotten
love.
a
What can I
little
say?
bit lighter with all the stuff that was going on between you and other people? Has that kind of cleared up so you can actually get back out there in the community to help build it, help work in the community?
Well, I could definitely say that the individual in question has not even gone as far as to clap back on what was being told. So I kind of think that that individual in general really thought twice, and in so many cases they kind of around and then they found out.
Do you think this is all a big setup, and no matter what it is in politics, no matter if you are running for a committee, man, it doesn't matter if you're running for a school council, school board, they throw salt in the game to try to get you off your game so you're not paying attention to what you're really running for.
What I think it ultimately comes down to is that I locally have been very vocal about how there are people here that really put the R next to their name, but they're not really conservatives. And that's something that really personally bothers me.
But we
When
call those nonpartisans or just straight up Democrats that no longer knew they could win, so they decided to bend their morals just a little bit of what they stand for and come on over to the Republican side, thinking that's a winning strategy. And then they get in there and they cause a lot of confusion at board meetings. They try to get fractions, a line drawn down, and then they sneak in to get the overwhelming support because it only takes two or three votes to swing a whole election or county.
Well, I absolutely agree. What I also have noticed, at least locally here, at least here in Manatee County, that there have been individuals who have sadly, unfortunately, infiltrated, our party to where those divisions have really caused a lot of problems. It's caused, as we Catholics would like to call it, it's caused a schism, I guess you could say. And it's really just disheartening that that real conservatives have to go through these types of things of feeling that we have to go the extra mile to prove our conservatism. So and then on top of that, I even saw a Facebook post from one person where they said that they're quote not Republican but MAGA. But see, here's the thing about that: it's all the same. So I'm not understanding why people are saying that they're MAGA, but yet they want to bash the Republican Party. To me, that makes no sense.
Let me kind of try to put it in some layman term. There's a whole bunch of people that believes in the core values and the platform of what a republic is supposed to stand for, but they look at the leadership inside of the Republican Party and the scandals, the backstabbing, the wasting money, the corruption, the not being able to sit at the table unless you playing games. They don't want nothing to do with it. And if they are MAGA, that's where you get in. There's four sections of people inside of the Republican Party, and I wish a lot of people understood. You have the globalists. These are the ones that put a question 8 on our ballot in Georgia. Would I like to give my sovereignty over to unelected bureaucrats? Those are globalists. You would never ask a regular Republican this. Then we have people at the state level who we call rhinos. You'll tout a big game, you'll promise a lot of stuff, but when it really gets down into under the gold dome or under your capital, you bend the rules to get favoritism and nepotism underneath the table. Then we have the followers. These are the knuckle draggers that will go out there and throw salt in the game to do the undirty, unnice work of the globalists and then the rhinos. And then you have MAGA or the grassroots people that don't have a voice at the table. So they got off the table, but they haven't let go of the Republican platform. So that's where the stipulations and the different fractions come inside of the Republican Party. And they created it, the leadership created it, and that's what it means. So that's what MAGA mean. They might not have voted for your local person. They voted overwhelmingly for Trump. They might not have liked the person that was at on the ballot. They voted for Donald Trump. So there's a lot of people that are at the grassroots movements that are looking at the Mitch McConnells in the world and the people that did Ken Paxton a certain way, the ones that warned Carrie Lake to be on her best behavior, shut up, sit down, and you wait your turn. So that is what that means. And when maybe leadership understand that, they know how much they are being despised out here.
Well,
They're
I could
no longer
definitely say
leaders.
that's a similar situation that we are experiencing here in Manatee County, except in this case, we have people who say that they are, supporters of, President Trump, who say that they support the MAGA movement, but yet actively right now, they are literally supporting actual Democrats. And
Yeah, that's the
here's
never Trumpers. Yeah, those are the Jeb Bush clans. Those are the ones that, you know what, a flip flop in a heartbeat only unless they're gonna, yeah, we know them. And those are the same one that threw salt in the game to you but could not reply, but put enough doubt in the system out there about you to where you have to cover yourself and turn and pivot your attention because that is the way it's supposed to go. You needed to wait your turn and you hadn't kissed the right gatekeeper in order for you to step up in the game. So overwhelmingly, you would have had to go out there and talk to the real folks that actually go to these elections and vote, and not to the higher uppers, unless you just wanted to wait your turn.
Well, in my case, these very same people, when I was still running for county commission at the time, these were the very same people that chose to support my then opponent at the time because, well, it was, I guess, for them, he was their golden boy basically. But they refused to give me a platform to speak on policy. They refused to at least give me speaking engagements. And then half the time, these are the very same people that were like, "Oh, we didn't know that you were running." But I'm like, clearly, I have been, but you guys were too busy making me speak from the back of a room instead of actually letting me speak from the front. And so the disappointing aspect of this is that these very same so-called, MAGA supporters, Trump supporters are the very same people that moved from the north, from places like Philadelphia, places like Chicago, and then they come down here and try to rebrand themselves as conservatives. And then as soon as I literally call them out for their complete forgery of being conservatives, the first thing they want to do is to use the same typical, liberal playbook and try to cancel a person for speaking truth to power.
Yeah, I mean, you're a newcomer. What you expect? You are talking about the REC. You are talking about politicians. And then you're talking about the state of Florida. With the first time in history, actually, Democrats don't have a voice. They have no power in the state of Florida. So, in order for them to get power back, they have to put on that mask and they have to blend in. So they have to blend in and they have to have favoritism, has to have to charisma. They have to get in there where they can wiggle their way in. And that is what you're up against. And any newcomer to any political system, when we see the problem, that's a wall. There's a wall in everything you do. There are gatekeepers. There's people that might introduce you to the right people that can move you to the next level. But it's how much you willing to bend your morals and values to sit there and you telling the truth. You're pointing it out. You want to question them. You know this is a constitutional republic. You have those rights, but you have no power. But you have to speak truth to power, and that's what you're doing because you're bringing the attention out there for people that is going to be just like you, get fed up, sick and tired, and they're going to stand up too. But you're going to have to be that person that tells them, here are the pitfalls. Are you ready for it? Because some of these people would literally go for the jugular and try to destroy your life only because you ask certain questions.
And sadly, that is the case. Take even one example that we're also here experiencing in Manatee County. We currently have a county commissioner who's only lived here for only 3.5 years, moved here from the Washington, D.C. area. Now, imagine this, if you will. This individual who I personally questioned when this gentleman basically said, and I quote, that he was in the United States Air Force. So when I questioned this individual and said, okay, so you're saying that you served in the military. Okay, so where did you take training? Who was your commanding officer? You know what this gentleman did instead? He
What?
sent his so-called, supporters to attack me personally when I started asking the real questions. So that is one example.
And you wasn't
The other,
even a Democrat. Just imagine what happened when somebody questioned Tim Walz. Because that was a thing for at least 2 or 3 years there. Stolen valor, stolen military honors. All of that was out there. And even in the huge scheme of things, no one was allowed to question these people because they had the upper hand and they had the money. If they came from Washington, D.C., they didn't come broke. And if you can sit there and you can have that money and you can have those zeros and you can have those duckies in your bank account, you can throw your money out there, back certain people, and buy the power and the connection that you need. You not do the dirty work. You're just going to use the P. Diddy baby oil to slip up other people.
I like that. I like that term. I might have to borrow that eventually.
How many people, listen, how many people covered up for P. Diddy and we know he was dirty? So if you know this man is dirty, got questionable ethics, and you just ask one blatant question, which is your rank, your serial number, where was you at? And the first thing they do is to get on the attack that tells you everything about the man that you are talking about already.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it gets worse because here's the thing. This particular now elected official that is a county commissioner here in Manatee County was a registered Democrat, by the way, before he came here to Manatee County. So, roughly 5 years ago, this is a gentleman who likely voted for Joe Biden, but then comes and says that he's a quote conservative and that we should do things quote in a very conservative manner. But yet, there is no record of this person doing anything of any sort that is conservative. And so I question him for that.
You
Now,
need to be questioning Republicans for that. I mean, the ones that's already sitting in office. Ask them what conservatism means to them. Normally, it's less taxes, less government, more self responsibility, power back to the family, and getting back to the constitutionality and stop shouting democracy. I always
you're
say
absolutely right.
constitution, or I mean conservatism, it should not be a hashtag, it should be a way of life. But if you are sitting and you listening to some of these our elected officials legally, is that winking, legally elected officials, they are everything that their oath that they up said they was going to uphold, they're not. So there should be a mechanism inside of both political parties and the political spectrum that is when you just violate your oath of office, you immediately are sat down. But it's across the board. If you think Florida toe up, you ought to see Georgia politics. Brian Kemp ain't running, and everybody is running like Chicken Little right now. Who's going to be the next person sitting down in the musical chairs? So we got to deal with that in Georgia, while still dealing with somebody named Keisha Lance Bottom, who used to be the mayor of Atlanta. Think that she tore up Atlanta, she about to tear up Georgia. So not only are both of our states up in the air right now, at least you got Byron Donald. Heck, you got somebody with some credibility of leaning straight conservatism, but then you got some that is throwing their hat in the ring that y'all gonna have to decipher down there too. So the next 2 years or next year, it's going to be a pivotal time in the midterms.
I definitely agree. And I honestly believe that if we don't mobilize, conservative candidates the right way in 26, I am very concerned that that we might not have a red county left if we're not quick to the heel to really, get on top of these things. Because again, like I said, we have seen in the last cycle. a former registered Democrat from DC, switch his party affiliation to Republican within a matter of months of him arriving here, and then trying to disguise himself as a so-called conservative. And this is a man who says that, oh, I read the writings of Ronald Reagan. But here's the thing about this young man: he wasn't even Ronald Reagan was already out of office like literally 3 to 5 years after he was born. So how can he say that he became a Republican because because Ronald Reagan helped him turn the curve? See, here's the thing. I may
You
look a
gotta think
little.
about it. That's a great talking point. Who the hell he gonna mimic? Bush's and Bush's own Florida. They're not a good look anymore. So who would you go? You gotta stay in the middle. You can't say Donald Trump because you got too many Democrats and Republicans that hate Donald Trump closet wise. You can't say the Bush clan because you know they about to get their heads busted to the white meat with all this stuff coming out about Joe Biden. So who else did we have? If you think about the lifespan of our politics, who else was a great Republican that you was willing to throw your hand on? That's a safe bet and had safe talking points. So he decided. Who else? He can't say Al Gore. He was a Democrat. He gave us hanging chads. Can't say Bush Senior. He gave us to the globalists. You know, too many people knowing about this. You can't say George Bush Jr. He got shoes thrown up beside of his damn head. He ain't no better. So who would be the safest Republican to sway moderate Republicans? That is touting always Ronald Reagan. Dude got shot at because of Senior Bush. So it's it's that's it's going to be the new narrative. I don't understand it either. Keith, I don't understand it. I'm being honest. Me and you
No,
trying to put our
I feel
heads.
the same way. I don't either. It's really confusing, in my opinion, because I've had to say this to a number of people down here. I said, just because somebody has an R next to their name doesn't mean that I'm going to need to fully support them. Because here's the
Woo!
thing: if they're not supporting limited government, if they're not supporting, keeping the family together, if they're not supporting, true conservative values, I don't care if they have an R next to their name or not. I will not support them if they are not supporting my values. And I will be as completely blunt with this as I can possibly be. I am a conservative Roman Catholic, and I'm proud of it. There have been people that have said that,
You the right wingedest of the right of the wing is what you at. You so right winged of the wing, you can literally see all the hairs under Jesus' arm. That's how right wing of the wing. You scare liberals by just walking down the street. You literally said good morning everybody. They already they shaking in their boots. What you expect? What did you thought you was gonna get when you're commingling all of that with your morals and values, and you're literally trying to sit at seat at the table with the devil? Just, you're gonna get attacked. You know it's coming to happen to you, and the stuff that you want to stand for. Sometimes, did you ever think you ain't supposed to have that seat? That your voice is big enough in the community to make very good change, because once you take that oath and sit down, you got to do what they tell you to do. If not, you lose it all.
sometimes you just have to be honestly not afraid to lose. And
Oh,
it's
yeah, it's
just at
true.
the end of the day, it's just you have to do the right thing. And I've never been afraid of ever really doing the right thing. And I love this community that has welcomed me in when I first came here. My wife is from down here, of course, and her family has invested time, businesses, and everything into this community. And I just want to do everything that I can to definitely give back. But it's really disheartening when you have people who have come after you, who have literally been just dishonest from the jump, and you can just
Yeah.
sense their dishonesty from the door.
There's a question. Have you thought about getting out of Manatee County? Have you thought
No,
about running outside of as a bigger district, as a maybe a whole county wise, as something bigger, maybe a chairman of the REC, getting to the state level, get away from the local politics, the mudslinging, the rolling around in the dirt, mudslinging, but like at a state position or level.
I have honestly never really thought about it. It's just, in order for something like that, it would have to be the right timing. It would have to be the Holy Spirit calling me to do it. It would have to be a number of factors.
Mm-hmm.
and it would also have to be my family being comfortable with that sort of thing. It's like even with my last run, I prayed about the situation before I even really made the decision to kind of throw my hat in the race, because at that time, our community here was really going through, was going through the crossroads, and there was just so much anti-business and anti, just pro-business people that were just not understanding that real conservatism does not try to shut down businesses, does not try to regulate businesses, and most importantly, to not tell people what to do with their property. And so it really saddens me when I see people who say things like, oh, all of the, development has just blown up out of control down here. But see, here's how I look at this is simply this. We live in a tourist destination.
Yes, it's a tourist area.
Yeah, we live in a tourist destination. People want this Florida life. And, who are we to deprive people who really genuinely want that Florida life, who really want to come here to contribute, who really want to come here and say, hey, this is where I want to lay roots, and this is where I want to be able to give back. I can totally respect that more than anything else. And as a conservative, that supports any businesses out here, whether they be big or small. But the fact is that if you're contributing to the overall health of the economy by what you're doing, I say, hey, let them do what they do.
But
Don't
with
try to stop.
Manatee County, like you said, it's a tourist town. It's very beautiful, very. It's I can say rich. It's a lot of nice houses. Okay, and that is being a tourist trap. Do you feel like the people that's been there for so long, so many decades, just want to slow the pace of the growth? Is that what the problem is?
I honestly think that don't they just don't want change. That's what I think that it merely comes down to. It's like it's at the end of the day, that old feel of what this place used to be 20, 30 years ago, that's completely gone. It's dead and buried. Not to sound very, dismissive or anything, but it's just this is just straight progress. Progress is and change are just constant. And sometimes people just don't want to recognize that. And it's not me saying, anything bad, but it's like, take for example from where I'm originally from, being from the Washington region my whole life myself. But as soon as I moved here to the state of Florida and wanted to start over, start fresh, and be closer to family, every ideal and every way of thinking that I used to have living near the DC region, I've pretty much, thrown that completely away and embraced what it is to be a Floridian. And at the end of the day, there are times I do go back up to my home area to visit, but they're very far and in between. In fact, I went back there for a visit just about 6 weeks ago. Had an amazing time over there catching up with family, friends, and things. And I got an aunt up there who's like in her 80s. She's like one of my mother's last remaining, relatives left up there. And, she practically almost raised me growing up, So I needed to get back up there to see her. But the point that I'm basically making is that, when I see people who literally say that they're Republicans, who say that they're conservatives, and they just go out of their way and just act like they are straight liberals instead of being the conservatives that they should be, it really just disgusts me to some degree. It's like people like me that they see that really embody those conservative values, being pro family, being, supporting limited government, and not having the government tell you how you should do this or how you should do that. That is honestly our God given right to have. And so when you see someone like me down here, who I kind of feel like I'm a unicorn in some cases, really, because there's really a small. I would honestly probably say maybe, but without really having all the facts, but maybe I'm probably one of the only black conservatives
Well,
in
you
this
in
entire.
you in Manatee County. Go to Lee County. Go down. Go travel down a little bit more. There's a couple of clubs down there that you can join. There's a lot of different organizations that you could join down there. But yeah, you are a unicorn in that area because it is a retirement community. There's a lot of Tea Party groups around there. There's a lot of John Birch Society, a lot of Republicans too. That tells us that we got 2 minutes before the top of the hour. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and close this out. Thank you so much, Keith. And you can, like I said, come on anytime that you know what? You could come back on anytime. Dave, my mind went blank. Dave said, tell, no, because he was sitting here trying to point at me. Dave said, make sure you plug everything where people can find you, support you, and everything like that, Keith. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lucretia. Thank you.
Oh, no, you got to tell us. You got to take us out. My name is Keith Lee. And you can find me at Keith Lee, The Nuts, all www. You can say something like that. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good, but thank you.
So, everybody, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Go ahead, Dave.
The Real News Rewards app, it is the best app ever. The best way to support and keep up with everything Lucretia Hughes and save a ton of money at the same time.
Heart of Georgia, she stands tall and proud. A voice for the people, cutting through the crowd. Truth on her lips, fire in her soul. Lucretia Hughes, she's on.
Ready to unlock the most extraordinary savings membership ever? Members are saving over $5,000 a year, and now you can too. With over 2 million ways to save, this app is your personal savings concierge, covering travel, entertainment, shopping, dining, and more. Let's get started. Grab your mobile device, click the link, and sign up using your registration code. Heads up, it's case sensitive. Prefer a bigger screen? You can also sign in on your computer. Click submit, then install. Your membership is live. Now, let's navigate your savings. From the home screen, tap Get Your Tickets. This is where the fun begins. You've unlocked deals on theme parks, cruises, concerts, and more. Over 80,000 events and over 1 million tickets at the best prices. Concert tickets? Get tickets to the hottest shows, plus up to 65% off service fees. Baseball? Big savings. Broadway shows? Even bigger discounts. Movie night? Absolutely. Thrill rides? We've got you. Next,